Welcome back to another video. I've got a ThruNite TT20 sent in via the company for review. There's your quick spec that I've put up on the screen. ThruNite tends not to actually put anything on their packaging with regards to the output. Quick look at what's included. There's your user guide, and there's also an offer here where you can actually leave a review and they'll give you a free keychain light. I'll put that in the description. Type-C cable. And you've also got the wrist strap with the adjuster, fairly standard stuff, and they give you extra port covers, two spare O-rings, and there's a cap cover as well. The holster that's included with this is very similar to the T2. In other words, it's kind of average quality. It did feel slightly better than the T2 holster in terms of the padding, a little bit thicker, but again, it's not really a premium holster, but it is included in an otherwise relatively decent bundle. Give you a quick shot showing you the torch fitted to the holster. Fairly decent fit, easy to fit into these holsters. I put the sizes and dimensions on screen for you. It's about average size, medium for a 21700 torch. You do have the double clip. Would prefer slightly bigger space at the top. It can pinch a little bit like the T2 could on jeans, but otherwise fairly decent. There's your metal side switch with the LED in the middle. This one does have a base or tail cap switch. I'll show you that later on with the UI. Here's your port cover for the Type-C port, and it's got a little flap on the edge which makes it easier to get to. You do have to push it in quite firmly though, just like the T2 one, so a little bit fiddly, but it's okay, and you do get spare ones included. ThruNite have gone with the SST70 LED smooth reflector. You do have the AR coating on it as well, and you can see the bezel crenulated a bit, although stainless steel would have been nice. The knurling pattern is pretty similar to other ThruNites. It's reasonably grippy, but perhaps not as much as some other ones because of the sort of smooth design. I'll unscrew the cap at the bottom now just to give you a quick look at that. There's your contact point, that's spring loaded. I'll take the battery out, 21700, and they're rating this one to 5000 milliamp hour, pretty standard for this type of battery. This is a custom battery though, and you'll notice that it does have the shielding around the top contact point, positive and negative, so you'll need a spacer if you want to put that into a charger. And unfortunately it's proprietary, the system, so I did try using spacers on my unprotected cells and they don't work at all. They won't power the torch and you can't charge them. Moving on to the user interface, single press on off. And the ramping mode on this, it's a little bit on the slow side for me. I also found that it does judder a little bit at the bottom lowest power setting. It seems to be smoother at the top setting. So it's not entirely stepless, and there are some steps in there. Whether that's a problem, I'm not sure, but I thought I'd mention it. To get to your turbo, what you need to do with that is just hit the side switch twice, and on the strobe, triple press for that. You do have a shortcut for Firefly, so just push and hold that when you're turning it on, and for lockout, when it's in Firefly, just keep holding that side switch down and that will start flashing red, just to let you know that it's locked out. You've also got a double lock with this light, so when you push in the base or tail cap switch, the red LED will just show on continuously. Don't know that that's needed, but it's there. And there's also your turbo and your momentary on the tail switch, which is unusual because most lights they usually just turn it on and off, but with this one it's a little bit different. As per usual, you've got your battery level indicator, and also the charging speed was fine on this, around about 1.5 amps, terminates about 4.19 volts. Here's your user guide just so you can have a look through that, double check anything if you want to. Easy enough light to use once you've got used to it, but I do think that ramping could be a little bit quicker. Anyway, onto the beam shots. Start off with the unicorn at 850 lumens, mixed beam pattern on this. Onto the TT20, that starts at 31 lumens at the infinity low, right the way up to 1468 lumens. I'm not exactly sure why they don't round off the numbers, but that's the numbers that they give me. There isn't a huge difference between the highest output in infinity and the turbo, but you do get a bit more punch in the middle, and it also spreads the beam out a little bit more. Gives a bit more flood on the outside, so it's a mixed beam. It's a bit more range than the T2 by about 100 meters, so general purpose beam on this. A few more beam shots now, and then I'll come back with a summary at the end. Just a quick note on the thermals with this light. It does get pretty hot, but mostly the head, the body of the torch, if you're holding it down there, it's not uncomfortably hot. So it's an improvement over the T2, possibly because it's a bigger body. Here's my summary of the pros and cons with this particular torch. My main complaint would be, apart from the custom battery, which you know that I'm not a big fan of, and I haven't been for a long time. It's entirely up to yourself if you find that a problem or not. Would have liked to have seen slightly quicker speed on the ramping power levels, or they could have given you an option to go into the stepped power levels. That would have been a nice touch. On the upside, you do get a pretty good bundle with this. Decent beam, don't have any complaints in that regard, and it's also a little bit cheaper than the T2, which was the last ThruNite that I looked at. But if you've got any thoughts and opinions on this, do drop a comment below. I'd be interested to hear what you think about it. And thanks for watching.